Hi everyone, welcome to Talk Sustain to Me. This sustainability experience series is about meaningful stories of sustainability related projects or experience. In each episode, I interview a young sustainability professional who share their unique experience with us. The main intention of this talk is to inspire ideas and promote sustainability. In today's episode, I'm happy to have Ryan joining us. Ryan recently graduated with an environmental science degree with a minor in biology. He currently works as a research assistant at the Marine Biogeochemical Laboratory at Chinese University of Hong Kong. He co-founded a climate advocacy group called Climate Sense. In 2022, he represented as a Hong Kong youth delegate at the United Nations Climate Change Conference, known as COP27. Hi Ryan, thanks for joining us today.
Hi Natalie, thank you so much for having me here.
My first question for you is, can you start by introducing what is COP27 and what is a Hong Kong youth delegate?
Sure thing. I think it's a lot of things to unpack here because there will be a lot of terms that maybe some of us may not be familiar with. But let's start with COP instead of COP27. So COP, which stands for the Conference of the Parties of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, is actually an annual climate summit that gathers the world leaders to come together as a whole to discuss climate change and to create synergies so as to realize ambitious climate actions so as to limit the temperature increase to, like what we have always said, 1.5 Celsius degrees above pre-industrial levels according to the Paris Agreement. So like what you said, Natalie, COP27, which actually happened last year in November 6th to 20th of November, was actually the 27th United Nations Climate Change Conference. It was held in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Yes, as a Hong Kong youth delegate, there were a lot, I would say, a lot of major roles and responsibilities involved. In general, as a local youth delegate in Hong Kong, I think what I majorly have to do is to continue the climate advocacy and being able to spread the message about what we want to amplify the voices as a Hong Konger to the international platform, and as well as bring back what has come up at COP27 and to bring it back to the local platform. So in a way, it's like local to international, and at the same time, international back to local.
Right. That's a great introduction of what is COP27 and the role of a Hong Kong youth delegate. So now let's dig deeper to what you do before you COP27. Can you share what was your preparation before the conference?
Sure. I think before COP27, I can list a lot of things, but I can list just like one or two significant ones, and I would say it's still memorable, and I really learned a lot from these kind of experiences. So before attending COP27, other youth delegates in Hong Kong and I did realize there was a lack of channel for Hong Kong youths and professionals in the sustainability field to express their opinions in regard to the climate crisis, and as well as, I would say, in action in Hong Kong. And that's why we organized 3 rounds of youth dialogue on climate change at 3 different universities. And I believe we engaged with around 100 youths, and we brought up with different topics relevant to climate change. For example, the adaptation, mitigation, renewable energies, youth engagement and inclusion, and so on. And throughout these 3 rounds of dialogues, I do realize that, like, despite like people coming from different backgrounds, I remember someone was from just like recently graduated from a secondary school, someone who is doing a science degree like I did, someone who's doing a business degree. But however, they were being able to create like a lot of fruitful discussions and ideas that even like us, like, you know, because I actually initially joined a climate advocacy program, and that is probably why I maybe had like more understanding about the climate issues. But I would say what also inspired me was that there are also a lot of people in Hong Kong who also joined the youth dialogue on climate change. They really brought up a lot of insightful and new ideas that we never thought of. And the ideas were important because we are going to collect the ideas, and eventually those delegates and I co-authored a document called Hong Kong Youth Statement on Climate Actions, and with 5 overarching climate-related themes, like the one I just mentioned: adaptation, energy transition, climate budgeting and financing, so maybe like something like green finance, governance, and youth engagement and inclusion. And eventually we were fortunate enough to have some interaction with Mr. Chechim Wan, the Secretary for Environment and Ecology. So I think this is a huge thing for me because I've never talked to someone working for the government and with such a huge role.
Right.
So that was something else that we have been preparing before going to COP27.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. So before you head to COP27, the role is mainly to initiate some dialogues with other youth and to collect their ideas. And then, so it's really interesting. How about your experience during COP27? What did you do there?
Oh, wow. I mean, to say that my overall journey at COP27, because it's also my first COP that I attended, would be a huge understatement because in fact, there were a lot of things going on. So I love to use this analogy. Let's put COP just like when you are a freshman at the university. Natalie, maybe you can relate to that, or maybe some listeners here as well might relate to it as well. You were clueless. You might, even though you thought you were prepared for the entire journey, the 4 years or 5 years of your university journey, you will have that moment where you feel like an imposter. You really had no idea what you were doing in this huge exhibition hall or in this climate summit, because there were a lot of different interactions going on. I can list a few. For example, there was some formal negotiations going on between parties. There were some people holding like a protest right outside the exhibition hall, bringing out what they want to advocate. There was someone playing music, which was very, very chill, very relaxing.
Yes, that's cool.
And they were playing music about climate action. We should all unite. We should prevent, the earth from heating up and so on. So different corners, different things happening. And I was really, really nervous and overwhelmed. But thanks to like the support from other youth delegates and also, I would say, early preparation before COP27, I was able to keep myself together and I was being able to engage with different stakeholders. So not only did I get the opportunity to interact with like climate advocates or like other youth from around the world, I also had the opportunity to talk to some people at the higher level. For example, like someone who worked for the European Commission. And I was able to communicate with them, sit down together on the floor, by the way. It's not like something very formal. We actually sat down on the floor because we really couldn't find a conference room, right? So we sat down on the floor and we talk about what we, like global youths, want to advocate and what the European Commission as a huge coalition and organization can do to avert the climate crisis and involve as many youths as possible to fight together. So that was some really, really interesting interactions in play at COP27.
Yeah, that is so fascinating. So it's like during COP27 in Egypt, it's like a place where everyone who has the same passion has the same goal, and then they sit together through dialogues, even they share their ideas through music or other more entertaining activities. So this is really wonderful and so interesting. After COP27, when you return to Hong Kong, are there any follow-up activities?
Oh yes, definitely. But right after coming back from Egypt, I would say the youth delegates and I really had like a mental and physical burnout because at that time it was like, it was like back at university again. You were fighting through all of the assignment deadlines. Everything was back to normal. I had my job. Other people have their jobs. Some of them are university students. They have to fly back to their countries for their studies because they were studying abroad. As if it didn't happen. But at the same time, you have to carry, I would say, this kind of mission, the sense of mission back to Hong Kong and really come together again and think about, hey, we attended COP27. So what can we actually do or contribute to make sure those voices and those findings that we encountered can be heard in the local community? So at this moment, even till now, there are still a lot of things going on. And I remember one of the organizers and also one of the delegates at COP27 told me about it as a joke. But I think it's actually true. Our climate advocacy journey back at COP27 still doesn't end because guess what? I'm still, talking to you, Natalie, about COP27. And COP is a huge, important thing that we should keep on going because it's very, very rare that youngsters and young adults like us are being able to, bring this kind of conversations relevant to climate change as like something we would talk normally, right? So we're trying to normalize it and trying to engage as many stakeholders as possible.
Right.
So I would say after COP27, I did have the opportunity to share what I've done, my personal experience at different venues and different occasions. One of them will actually be recommended by my boss and also my supervisor. I think he has some connections with some private companies, private corporations,
Right.
and it was nice to interact with them because I during the Q&A section, they were really curious about the entire findings and about the overall impression of COP27. I don't know if anyone has heard of this, but a climate activist, Greta Thunberg, she claimed that COP27 is a greenwash. COP27 is greenwashing because there were some major companies like I don't want to pinpoint them, but I was going to say some major multinational companies. They were the huge sponsors of COP. So what is the purpose of COP if there are some huge carbon high polluting companies and corporations come into play and get involved with this kind of climate conferences? So she was the one claiming that it's greenwashing, and some people during that after my presentation also brought it up. And me as a youth delegate, I also have to be honest about the entire situation. And their questions were interesting because they were coming from a business perspective, and I did not come with a business degree. I did not have a lot of technical knowledge about that sense. But despite being very trying my best to address their concerns and questions, I did learn a lot from interacting with them because that is what it's all about, right? Climate change should not be something that just scientists, come together as a small group and talk about what should we do, what should we do. It's more like business come together, corporations, NGOs, right? Everyone come together. So from this presentation, I did learn a lot from that. And also, we also, other youth delegates and I, recently also talked about maybe we should form a bigger coalition in Hong Kong, and it would be called Hong Kong Youth for Climate Action, HKYCA in short. And we hope that from this coalition, we are trying to scale it up, with a bigger size and proportion, ensuring that youngsters, youth maybe aged between 18 to 35, no matter if you're graduating soon, maybe you are pursuing, you're trying to pursue a sustainability career or something like that. We hope to involve as many people as possible and try to bring very interesting topics relevant to climate change, maybe from through podcast, maybe through writing newsletter, maybe trying to write a policy statement or some review paper together. Because I feel that what is more important is how to channel the bridge between stakeholders. And I believe there's always been a lack of communication channel between youth and the government or even other major stakeholders.
Yeah, it's a really good explanation. And you have mentioned that we have to engage all different parties, different stakeholders, from the corporate sector, government, NGOs, just because climate change is a big topic and everyone is related to it. Everyone should work together on it. So what you did in COP27 and after COP27, you try to link and connect youth with the government, connect different stakeholders and to talk about this issue. This is a really important thing to do. So how about your learning? What was the most exciting part of the experience, especially in Egypt?
Wow, there were a lot of, I would say a lot of significant experiences I've had at COP27. If I really just have to pick one of them all, I would say about the negotiations going on between the parties, because that was such a once in a lifetime experience. Letting alone COP27 is already very memorable in my opinion. And just being able to stand being able to be in that conference room with other major leaders. I remembered I also saw Boris Johnson. He actually attended COP27 as well. But unfortunately, I was not able to interact with him one-on-one because hello is a huge political figure. But being able to witness someone in person that you usually saw in TV is really memorable. And seeing them trying to negotiate with other people, shaking hands, and those kind of interactions is something that you would never think you were being able to encounter. And I think what is also interesting is maybe sometimes politics may come into play when it comes to climate change. That I might not delve too deep into it, but just being able to really think outside of the box when I was in that conference, thinking about, oh, these countries may have this kind of agenda, but they would not say it like that. They would frame it with another wordings. Meanwhile, some other countries are pinpointing some particular countries are not being ambitious enough, and they should be the one being held accountable. It's something very interesting, as if like you're watching like a drama series, like, you know, soap opera. Saying, oh no, what are they having a fight? But at the same time, it's serious because climate change is something like everyone should be, you know, should unite and always come together, because like no one should be left behind at the end of the day, right? And also at the same time, it relates to climate justice. It relates to like a just transition. And I would say, yeah, one of the most exciting part would be it being able to witness everything in person, even though I cannot, like, you know, separate my body into different parts and go to different things, because like I said, COP27, everything is going on at the same time. So you have to prioritize what you really want to focus on, and you just attended the conferences, and hopefully you are able to interact with those people. And I would say, yeah, and apart from that, being able to meet like significant notable figures at COP is also one of my most valuable takeaways. Yeah.
Yes, right. And like meeting them and also learning from them, like listening to what they shared and to connect with like-minded leaders, I think that would be a very important learning. How can COP27 contribute to a more sustainable future?
Very, very tricky question, because like what I told you, Natalie, someone claimed that COP27 is a greenwashing COP. So does it actually contribute to a sustainable future? Does it actually like do we actually see like significant progress after COP27? I think some people, or maybe a majority, I'm not sure, a majority might have said like, no, it didn't help at all, because you know, the sponsoring companies, the countries suddenly like, you know, slapped their mouths and like back up, like, you know, broke their promises. There were a lot of different things going on. I remember one of the things is something significant, something more important is about greenhouse gas emissions. So now we're talking about, you know, having a just transition. And having a just transition means that like maybe some countries already have some ambitious commitments, and they already make it like a political public announcement that, hey, our countries is going to will be phasing out of fossil fuels. So phasing out is an important thing, because phasing out means cancel. They're not going to use it any further, right? Well, at COP27, at the end of the conference, someone broke their promises and said phase down. So phase down versus phasing out can be very different, right? Because phasing down means like I can go from 50% of 50% of the consumption of fossil fuels. Now I'm phasing down to 49%. Does it make any difference? I don't know, because you're still contributing a lot of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, right? So these kind of things are very, very sensitive, and those things were recorded into the official UN documents. So the entire COP, even in my opinion, I would say it's not effective, because you can still see a lot of countries still have their own agendas, political agendas, I'm not sure, but they have their own concerns, and they tended to back out from this like ambitious climate actions at the end of the conference. And that was the most, you know, that was the most frustrating part. They were like saying like, oh, I'm not gonna do it, right? But all that said, I think it also serves an opportunity to, you know, give us another warning. It's like COP is not, you know, like it's not just COP for us to bring us all together. Aside from COP, and even now after COP27, governments and other major parties should already start talking about like how to bring forward more ambitious climate roadmap, right? Because COP is, you know, COP is as if like it's an assignment, as if like all the people have to go to show they're doing something. But after they go back to their countries, that is something that matters. You know, COP is more like a check mark, something as if like they're going to check the box. But what's more important is the quantity, like, you know, the substance. Are they actually doing something that they can report at COP28, which is about to be soon in late November? So I'm sorry, I cannot give you like a yes or no answer, Natalie, because it's such a loaded question.
Of course, like there is not always yes or no. Like though it's helpful in a way that it connects all people all countries and to share their best efforts, their best ideas to tackle this big issue together. So it takes time for countries to realize their goals and but then eventually I'm sure this would be a very important platform for connecting all the countries together. That's a really wonderful sharing. Before you get to Egypt, you try to collect ideas, and then when you are in Egypt, you connect with other leaders to share your views and also to collect other views from other leaders. And the most important thing is after COP27, when you're back to Hong Kong, what you collected from an international level and bring it to the local city or like Hong Kong and to share your insight. That's the importance of it. Thanks a lot for your sharing. For anyone who is interested in learning more, feel free to connect Ryan on LinkedIn. And I hope this experience series will help you learn more about the United Nations Climate Change Conference and their impacts on sustainability. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned and see you in the next video.